Marlon Brando's Cut the Godfather Part video would have changed Michael Corleone's story for the worse. The final scene of The Godfather Part 2 sees the Corleone brothers gathered around the dining table for a family celebration. It's a flashback sequence, including James Caan's Sonny Corleone, who was killed off in the first Godfather movie. Yet arguably the biggest character in the saga, Marlon Brando's Don Vito Corleone, is notably absent from the scene. Vito only appears off-camera for a birthday surprise at the tail end of the sequence, leaving the young Michael Corleone alone with his thoughts. However, the original version of the scene was meant to include a cameo from Brando. Marlon Brando famously rejected his planned cameo in The Godfather Part 2, simply by not showing up to a single scheduled day of shooting for the movie. The actor was hurt by the dismissive attitude he received from Paramount Pictures executives prior to the release of the first movie. With Brando missing, The Godfather's writer-director Francis Ford Coppola rewrote the sequel's flashback scene on the spot, taking Vito Corleone out of the picture. As it turns out, the final version in the movie makes far more sense than what was originally in the script, for Michael Corleone's story in particular. Vito Corleone's planned final line would have changed the entire Godfather story. While the setting of the original flashback sequence is much the same as the final version, the lines of dialogue written for the elder Don Corleone would have made all the difference. His final line would have cast the entire transformation of Michael Corleone into a tragically ruthless replacement for Vito in The Godfather in a wholly different light. Rather than accidental factors leading Michael to veer off course dramatically from college boy and war hero towards a criminal path, it would have been part of the plan all along. In the script, Vito expresses his disappointment that his son has signed up to fight for the U.S. in World War II. In the end, he relents, telling Michael, "Go your own way, but when you are ready, come to me the way a son should. I have hopes for you." This line of dialogue was initially intended to be the final one spoken in the entire Godfather movie saga. Yet, it completely appends everything that went before. Vito Corleone's instruction that Michael come to him, the way a son should, and ominous declaration that he has hopes for his son's return to the family runs contrary to what Vito told his son in the first Godfather movie. In one of the Godfather's most famous scenes, he expresses his regret that Michael is involved in the family business and is inheriting his role as Mafia Don. "I never wanted this for you," he tells him, even suggesting that he wanted Michael to become a U.S. senator. But The Godfather Part 2's original final line directly contradicts this sentiment. Michael Corleone's story is worse if Vito expects him to become the new Don. If Vito Corleone was already expecting Michael to come back to him and his family as early as 1939, 6 years before The Godfather's story begins, and had great hopes for his son's return to the fold, it implies that Michael was already being lined up as the heir to Vito's role as Godfather. But part of the genius of The Godfather is that throughout the movie, it's made clear that Michael was never supposed to be Don Corleone. It's no exaggeration to say that the character's transformation during the course of the movie is up there with a Shakespearean tragedy. Al Pacino's character should have been the son who left the family, became a highly educated American patriot, and allowed his father to live the American dream vicariously through him. Fate stood in his way and thrust the role of Mafia Don upon him. It's no exaggeration to say that the character's transformation during the course of the movie is up there with a Shakespearean tragedy like Macbeth or King Lear. The implication that this was all a lie, and that Vito Corleone actually always planned for his son to lead the family, takes something fundamental away from Michael Corleone's story. The Godfather Part 2's flashback, focusing on the brothers, makes sense after Frito's death. What's more, it's important to remember that Brando's Vito Corleone was out of the picture throughout The Godfather Part 2. Yes, the movie covers Vito's origin story, thanks to an award-winning performance by Robert De Niro. But Michael's descent into despotic misery and loneliness is the main focus of the movie's present-day narrative. The mob boss has already lost his older brother Sonny to mafia warfare, yet plans to kill his only other living brother by birth, Fredo Corleone, due to his apparent betrayal of Michael earlier in The Godfather Part 2.